today. Okay, so I'm, as I said, I'm Davide Grossi. I'm most of the time based at the University of Groningen and as an associate professor at the Institute for Computer Science, Mathematics, and AI. And I am also part-time appointment at the UvA, both at the law school, the Amsterdam Center for Law and Economics, and at the Institute for Logical Language and Computation. So, and well, Alessio, Pacces, and Dari-Mattiacci, I think are probably more well known to you, as they're both based at the law school. The project really came out as an attempt at bridging several kind of research interests that we shared, and across the disciplinary boundaries between, say, the legal sciences, humanities, and computer science, artificial intelligence. So the idea of the project is to look at group decision making in a legal and corporate context. And we're going to look at, so to do that, following two routes. One is to try to gain better insight into, for instance, how investment decisions of institutional investors can influence, or better, how institutional investor can influence investment decision in the company they participate. And this is, well, in corporate governance, I understood from Alessio, and he'd be here to correct me, it's a very critical kind of question where we still miss insights. And part of the project is to try to build a first data set to try to disentangle the role of this influence of big institutional investors on investment decisions. In particular, in kind of societally relevant areas where investment have to do with kind of push for more sustainable energy sources, for instance, or more generally a kind of pushing the green credentials of companies. And in that, institutional investors play an important role, but it's still unclear how that pans out. So we hope with this project to have some head start into that. So that's one part of the project. The other part that concerns decision making, say in the more corporate setting. And the second part of the project instead looks at this group decision making in a legal context. For instance, in particular, in decision making by courts. And there we try to make a step further than data. That we have already quite a few well-established data set that document the working, for instance, of the Supreme Court in the US. And there we try to make an extra step towards mathematical and computational model that can give some sort of abstraction of those decision-making processes. So we try to gain a better understanding of how those processes actually could be understood in a formal mathematical and computational way. So the idea of the project is really to kind of, the umbrella question is, can we get better insights into group decision making in a legal and corporate context, and that again gave rise to those two kind of research questions that I mentioned. Alessio, would you like to add anything to my story?
Yes, definitely, without correcting you in any manner, because you illustrate that leg of the project very well. Is exactly what we're after. If I may add something, so why do we need the computational dimension to study the influence of voting in corporate governance? I think this is like really a cutting edge aspect of the project that was developed by several conversations that David and I had. So it is indeed a topical issue whether institutional investors that are the owners of all large corporations in the world, okay, have an influence of the choices that this large corporation in the world make and that affect all of us. It is a big question. There's it's nothing null about it. But there is something else that we know in that literature is that most of this decision making is not indeed revealed by actual voting. Because if it was, we would just study voting as we do in the parliamentary situation or similar collective decision making. But in corporate governance, this happens a lot behind the scenes. So I think what we are after is, the question is whether we will manage to find the data revealing this, is what kind of language suggests an influence on decision making. It's probably backed by voting power. But there is indeed, I mean, the corporate decision making happens through actions that are not observable, they're not reflected in actual voting, because otherwise this would be very easy to mine. So what we try to identify is what dialogue between shareholders and managers suggest in terms of influence in corporate decision making. So that's the big ambition of this part of the project.